if this sharing of experience is really the right tool at this time to press a trigger on the client, let him think, or make him love something which he doesn't love, change the situation, then I'm sharing it. If I think it's not successful, of course, I'm not sharing anything, asking questions, or let the client talk himself. And it's important to make sure that sharing is neutral or might be even humble and not at all pushy. So the experience should be a motivation that the client can change himself, but of course in his own and better way, might be much better than my one.
Hi there, Adrian here, and this is a video from a Zoom session that we do. We do these Zoom sessions every Sunday and we take questions and answers from the audience, some of our students, some of our members. We never know what questions are coming up, so I'm always excited to do these sessions and I hope to see you at one of them. Make sure you hit the subscribe button below and check out the other playlists that we have. Thank you, enjoy. So Guido's over 16 years in China, living in Shenzhen. He came into our NLP training and I was quite impressed already when I saw the work he had done. I won't say the schools he went to, but he's picked some of the best schools and also possibly the most expensive schools in Asia. So he's done really high quality training. And now he's just about completed the first level of our NLP training. So he can share some wonderful insights on how he can use NLP and ICF coaching, how you can be a better coach, and perhaps a few more things. Guido, I'll pass the microphone over to you. Everyone knows where the fire extinguishers and toilets are. Guido, all yours.
Thank you. Okay. I would like to start with a sentence that I assume we coaches are a special sort of people. Many people think about money when they talk about their job, but I think our intention is really to make the world a better place. We like to contribute, we like to share, that comes from our heart. And first of all, I would like to thank Adrian for the journey in NLP that I started with him, his team, and a handful of very nice students. Adrian is a great teacher, and I must really say I already learned a lot from him. Nevertheless, the Johari window has 4 areas, and I've partly developed from unconscious incompetence now to more or less conscious incompetence, and I hope I can develop over the next year at least to level 3 conscious competence, but this is still a long way. Secondly, thank you for Adrian and you all for the opportunity to share. First introduction of me. So I have a German passport. I say this because I've been living in different countries, and many people say what makes a German is one thing, but I think as you go along different countries, you adopt. I'm responsible for a production plant in Shenzhen, South China, and we are producing filter coffee machines. I started coaching in 2015 in order to improve my leadership skills. This means I was in a management position, but my leadership skills were not really as good as needed. So I started coaching 2015 in order to improve myself. Currently, I'm advanced corporate coach from the World Association for Business Coaching, BCC from ICF, and this type of master certified coach for not professional coaching, but for international coaching. The word is wrong here. And I started with NLP, with a practitioner training to improve my self-management skills, leadership skills, and for the coaching skills to improve my effectiveness. I would like to go through some tools before I start talking about my niche. I would like to go through this ICF model of coaching, which probably some of you are aware of. I would like to bring this together with NLP and coaching, and I would like to go into 3 or 4 models, 3 or 4 tools like congruency, Meta model, and Milton model in order to go a little bit into NLP. And after this, I will go into my niche using experience for coaching. So NLP, I think, is a very good tool to be used in coaching. It supports to understand how a person's brain works, how information is perceived, processed, and what the result might be. Coaching is defined as a target to explore and unleash a person's hidden potential and support the development. This is really complementing very well. I made the experience that sharing our own experience in life and work can have a positive effect in coaching. And when used in the right way, it will not influence the coachee, but bring some new ways to trigger the coachee to improve. But it must be authentic, and the coach must have the intention to provide value added. So the presentation should give a little bit insight into the work of me, and I have a little bit experience in management and crisis experience and how I use some tools. By the way, we have ladies and gentlemen in this presentation. Germany is kind of a country for diverse language, but in order to make this presentation a little bit more understandable, I'm using always a form of male. And if you are male, female, diverse, or whatever, please also feel warmly included in this addressing. Coaching is, for me, in comparison to an egg. If an egg is broken from the outside, life ends. If coaching supports to break the eggshell from the inside, from the coachee itself, then life begins. I think that's a very good metaphor for coaching. ICF has 7 steps in this coaching model. You have the so-called ethical guidelines. This implies an appropriate. It's also clearly communicating the distinction between coaching, consulting, psychotherapy, and other support professions. Then you have the so-called coaching agreement. That's the ability to understand what's required in your special coaching interaction, but also to understand whether you as a coach and the coachee are the right match in order to bring value added. To the coachee. Interesting for me is the topic trust. For ICF, the definition is ability to create a safe, supportive environment that produces ongoing mutual respect, trust. And NLP is slightly differently addressing it. So mirroring to be similar to the coachee and pacing and leading. Part is deep knowledge and expertise that people trust you. You can have additionally recommendation by other persons in the media. You can have a good reputation and even credentials like a title, support to build up trust. This is not ICF definition, but I think here real life experience, NLP and ICF really come together very well. The next topic is coaching presence. This means the ability to be fully conscious and create spontaneous relationship with the client, employing a style that is open, flexible, and confident. Active listening is also part of NLP. I think I don't need to go too much into this because it's really understanding what the client is saying, not saying, and understand the meaning in the context of coaching. The next thing is that you really ask powerful questions to get information that is supporting the client's development. Direct communication is another topic which I think we should go in more deeply, because direct communication is being frank. This means if you're frank, you can be blunt so that you're even hurting people, but it's clearly to understand. Diplomatic is a way to say something very indirectly, but it can be evasive that your client doesn't understand it. So one thing is to be forthright diplomatic, in your communication to combine both, but NLP also goes into the right wording, into the right style of communication. And I think this all can make coaching more successful. So this is why I also think that NLP and coaching complement each other very well. The next thing is creating awareness. That's the ability to accurately evaluate multiple sources of information and to make interpretations that help the client to gain awareness and thereby achieve results. Actions, I think that's clear. This means you're defining together with your coachee potential ways to learn and to change. Goal setting means that that's the ability to develop and maintain effective coaching plan with the client to achieve the targets. And accountability is to make sure that you hold attention on what is important for the client and leave the responsibility to the client to take action and achieve targets, to achieve his goal. This means here NLP is, in my opinion, a very good base for coaching. You understand the background of the states of people. You have better self-awareness and self-management as a coach. You have a way of chunking information with the meta model and Milton model, identification of language patterns and how to react. You are reducing the impact of unwanted behavior and replacing it with better ones, for example, by submodalities and swish pattern, and supporting long-term success, for example, with anchoring. Any questions until now? Okay, no questions, at least I don't hear anything. Congruence is a good base because NLP supports to understand the congruency of a person. Is what someone says, also what he thinks, and is the coachee really aware of these differences? NLP offers a technique to calibrate a person at the start of a session in consideration whether the words are matching with the body language, movements, and the voice. We have the meta model. It's a holistic set of questions designed to specify information, challenge and expand the limits to the person's model of the world. And it responds to the distortions, generalizations, and deletions in the speaker's language. With this, you can make sure that you have better understanding of the model of the world of the client at the moment of coaching, and make sure that the client also understands his world at this moment of coaching in a better way. So on the other side, you have the Milton model, which is designed to produce trance and agreement. It's a series of abstract language patterns, which is ambiguous, so that the client can find his own way to overcome his limits. Swish technique, I will skip. Now I will come to my part of this presentation. So sharing experience is normally not wanted in ICF coaching. You can tell a story of a metaphor, but not really sharing experience. Do you know why it's not really wanted? This is a question, so you can have an answer. Thank you. I would like also to share now my experience on this. Thing is, many coaches are using a story. For example, how someone else had a bad situation and came to a solution. That could, for example, be Mother Teresa, who did whatever she could to help poor people and she never gave up. Or a coach invents a story with a happy end. But let me share my experience. Do you remember when your parents told you that you should work hard in school to have better grades? When they told you that the son of the neighbor is the best in class and that you should learn harder? Well, in this case, I was looking at my parents' own performance in school, which was average. And then I was asking myself, why did you not work harder? Yeah. Why did you not work harder in school and have a better job today? So with this, I was not really motivated to work harder. So if I can share an experience myself, especially one that starts in a very bad situation and turns out to be good, I can share something that is authentic. In my life, I had several experiences. For example, I had an accident, which I hardly didn't survive, but I did. Might be I could not even move, but I can. I had my arm paralyzed and consulting 7 doctors who said, you cannot move your arm. I can move it. I didn't listen to the doctors. So I overcame myself a lot of difficult situations successfully. I started very bad, little hope, and I was able later to find the right way to succeed. So this is something where I think there's a difference when you change experience. On the other hand, experience and trust, in my opinion, go hand in hand, because credentials like a PCC, doctor title, professor title, are experiences which you made, and they build trust with the coachee. The recommendation is experience another person had with me. When I've experienced a similar situation as a coachee and I solved it, I have a kind of mirroring situation with the coachee at the beginning. So the coachee has a possibility to trust me that there's a way to solve a situation. So I think sharing experience is believing it has really happened. It's stimulus. I and the coachee can find a way. It's mirroring the coachee and me in the same situation at the beginning. It's a sample for a solution. It's possible and it's authentic, because when it's authentic, I can give a lot of details, a lot of ideas, a lot of feelings at every time in the process. And already appreciated your comments which you gave, because experience should be shared in the right way in order to have a positive benefit, a positive result, and not influence the coaching process negatively. So what could be the right way how to share experience in the right way? Any ideas? I'm sure you have some.
I'll throw one out there. Sharing without attachment to it.
Yes. And how would you share it, Adrian? I think you find the right way to share everything.
Sorry, after Adrian.
Just a sec, William. I like to share it like a ball. Like, here is my experience. Take it or leave it. And if the client doesn't want it, we got to be totally cool with that.
Yeah.
Sometimes when we share a story, we kind of cling on to our story, or we give advice, we cling on. We got to give the story and be like unattached. Yeah. What do you think, William?
Well, I don't disagree with you, but at the same time, I would say when you share an experience, you just have to ensure it's encouraging for the person you're dealing with, working with, if you wish, because you can check that by the way they react to you. And, once they turn off, don't bother continuing the experience. But if they're actually reacting positively to it, continue, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Right, yes. Okay, so
I just want to add,
yes, Jaco?
I think sharing experience with the clients help us to make a good rapport with the client.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we have a more better rapport, then we have we can run session better.
Yeah.
You have a problem? Me too. And I solved it. Yes. I think that if I combine what you said, I would say first thing is some people share experience to show how they're good are to solve a problem. That's showing off. So You should be unattached and really share it with a very good intention.
Yeah.
If you solve a problem and the coachee might not be ready to find a solution, then this experience might be destructive because the coachee might feel inferior. And
Or, oops, sorry.
yes,
There's
Yes,
a
please.
risk as well that the coachee feels not understood, because sometimes they come to you because they think they have tried it all. And when we just add on, why don't you do this and why don't you do that? This can be wrong when it comes to active listening. I think it all depends
that's right.
on the context
Right.
and where the coachee is on the line, yeah, like I'd say, if the client is below the line, like feeling
Yeah.
low, you don't give
Yeah.
that would be unsolicited advice. The best thing we can do is listen, and yeah,
When
there's
I
a
told
timing
you-
for that.
Yes, yes, I agree with you. So the thing is, I'm not giving advice. I just ask whether the coachee allows me to share an experience which I think was positive. And then I can share the experience. It's just a sharing. It's not any advice. It's just what I did. It's like a metaphor. It's also something is happening, but it's not really suggestive, or it's not telling that there's a better solution. It just, there was a solution that at this time was working for me.
If I may, Guido, I think that it's also a matter of perception. You see, you may share an experience and give your story, but if you don't have a good rapport, or if the other person is not receptive to your sharing your story or putting it into another context, you may have the want to give hope to the other person. I'm paralyzed in my hand, but my client doesn't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Doesn't want to
Yeah.
hear that she is paralyzed. So my goal is to give hope, but her goal is something else. So we have to go with the client. And I
Yeah,
find
but
building
this-
rapport is the best.
Well, of course, I agree with you. Of course, that's a complete base. The client doesn't want to listen to it, but this is the same with targets. I one time asked a coachee for his target, and he said, I want to be motivated in learning Chinese. And after half an hour, he identified, I'm not really motivated in learning Chinese. My final target is something different, so I would like to skip it. And then he said, my real target is, how can I improve my relationship in my work? And Chinese might not be supporting for this. This is the same thing. Even if a coachee says he has a target, the question is it really the target? That's congruency, that's finding out what the target is. This can happen, yes. I agree with you. Yes, of course, you have to be perceptive when it's the right way to change a story, when it's the right way to share experiences. I agree with that. Nevertheless, what I found is when I try to be a role model, I can complain about that some change of behavior is even hard for me. Might be I see the situation from today's point of view with humor. I often use humor in coaching, which also helps me to bring over some information. It might be even humor sometimes confusing the coachee a little bit, so that he doesn't really know whether I want to go left or right, and he can think about himself, what is the right way for me. So important is that I do everything from my heart, and I would like to bring benefit to the coachee. And if the coachee is slightly receptive, we can also use one NLP technique that the coachee goes into his older self and asks his older self what could be the best solution. So that's also a tool for supporting success. Okay. So if this sharing of experience is really the right tool at this time to press a trigger on the client, let him think, or make him laugh something which he doesn't laugh, change the situation, then I'm sharing it. If I think it's not successful, of course, I'm not sharing anything, asking questions or let the client talk himself. And it's important to make sure that sharing is neutral or might be even humble and not at all pushy. So the experience should be a motivation that the client can change himself, but of course in his own and better way, might be much better than my one. Okay, thank you. That's just one part of coaching, and I'm happy that you listened to my story. Thank you. Any questions?
If you go back to this ICF model,
Yeah.
Where do you implement the NLP? You had this 11 points. Where do you implement it? Can you?
Yeah, so NLP you can share in several areas. Building trust from the beginning when you're discussing with the client already. In many steps, it's building trust with mirroring, leading and pacing. It's coaching presence and active listening, because active listening with understanding the word patterns, seeing that how the client is moving, seeing whether or feeling that the words the client is saying, the body movements, the facial expressions, do they fit, do they not fit, is there any congruency? Powerful questions, for example, ask the question in the same WACOG way, it's an auditive question, or it's a question for seeing, it's a visual question, or it's a feeling question. So there's a lot of ways how we can use NLP. If there's an answer, you can look for the eye patterns, how the coachee gives the answer, and can also understand how the coachee is giving an answer. So in my opinion, there are a lot of ways how we can bring an NLP to this coaching model. Awareness, you can connect with, or they're asking questions. You can connect, for example, with the meta model so that you can ask more specific questions. Awareness, you can create with the Erickson model, with the Milton model, so that the client can bring his own ideas to define what he wants to do. So there are a lot of ways how to use NLP as a very good base in this ICF model. If I think about it, sometimes, of course, subconsciously I'm using NLP, but if I think about the 11 steps, I think I can use it everywhere. Accountability, I can use anchoring. Goal setting, I can use the congruency. So even when I'm not master practitioner, with my NLP practitioner, I can already think about a lot of ways how to use it for coaching.
Okay, thank you.
Guido, can I come in there? I certainly respect the ICF coaching model, and I think it's very useful for people who need specific steps. But I think what they've done, they've actually taken NLP and rehashed it to fit their model, which is no problem because there's so many ways of doing NLP and also helping other people. So for me, it wouldn't work because it's just too structured. But for many people, it will work because it is structured. So, you know, fine, whatever fits the individual, I think, really. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't know what you think.
I think it's good for China. China is very flexible, sometimes following the rules, sometimes not following the rules. Most important is finding a result. So I agree. Sometimes I follow the model. If I make a test, I have to follow it. But finally, most important is that the client has a positive result which he wants. I think that's most important.
Yeah, I'd like to comment here as a practitioner, having done more of NLP and hypnosis before embarking on the ICF certification journey. I do find it a bit challenging at times to sort of fit in that box of 11 dimensions.
I think we have a good summary that sharing experience is okay when it's done in the right way. with the right intention. And I think ICF model is a good way also to support, but it should not be taken as 100% granted every time. Because for me, it's also interesting when I talk with some ICF coaches that try to share experience, or I try to go out of the model that I said, but this is not ICF standard. Sometimes if you want to provoke a person, or if you want to shake a person a little bit, you can also be a little bit directive if you have the intention that the coachee thinks about what he is doing, that the coachee finds his own way. If somebody is too lazy, I sometimes also give them a direction that they're destroying their life if they are too lazy, and that they should really start not change their life, otherwise they will not do a change. Not allowed an ICF model at all, but people think about it, and if they really come to a change, I think that's what was really my target. And regarding, there was another question, what should you do first, NLP or ICF coaching? I think this depends on the type of person you are. So I started as a very logical person with an acceptable IQ, but not with a very good EQ. So the coaching provided me a kind of structure I could start with first. And as I said, I was not a very good leader, and the leader should have a little bit higher EQ than I had at this time. And this took me a little bit of time to understand, oh, what am I doing wrongly? And then I started coaching a lot of potentials in Volkswagen to improve, and 49 out of 51 passed the Volkswagen leadership assessments with as best, and 2 people not as best, but with a failure rate normally of 40 to 60%. And this is why I thought, oh, slowly but surely I understand how to coach people and how I can become a better leader. And then I went to this WABC type of coaching for business to further improve, to have a different point of view. Of course, I picked up a lot of NLP by films from Anthony Robbins and reading books and whatever that is. And then I thought I should put it on a little bit more professional level. And this is how I was looking for a good trainer of Adrian. He was recommended to me, and then I started NLP. So for me personally, the right way, I think, was to start with ICF coaching, have my structure. And then it was for me very, very beneficial to start NLP, to become a more rich person, but also to have a better coaching style. So that's my personal answer for this question. Well, let me share one more thing, which was also made international coaching. I was coaching an Ukrainian person who is living in the US now, due to the reason that when he came to the US say he's Ukrainian, he's Russian, we don't like Russian, whatever. So he was quite unhappy. He's very logical. He didn't like that American people always want positive news. He is a very direct person. So he was at the beginning, had a little bit difficulties to navigate in the US. So, well, after half a year, this changed completely. Now he loves the US, he loves his colleagues, he loves his work. And then we discussed a little bit about marriage. So he is divorced 2 times and married the 3rd time, also a woman from the Ukraine. And he shared a little bit with me about his problems in the past. And if his wife is coming, complaining, he's always very soft. And I said to him, because I know a little bit Russian style, why don't you tell your wife very direct, you're the boss in the house, she should follow you, you do the best, whatever. And then there was an incident where his wife was complaining about the son. And he really told her very directly, he's the boss, she should stop complaining about the son, he's a nice guy, he will go out and have an ice cream. So he put pressure on his wife. And it helped. So his wife respected him more because he was doing exactly what an Ukrainian wife was expecting from the husband, and his marriage is now more happy. This means I gave him directive what to do. Of course, I know him since a long time, and it sounds a little bit anti-feministic, etc. I know this completely. You cannot do it everywhere, but it helped, and they are now much more happy in their marriage. At least it's the feedback what I get. Yeah. So sometimes it's really important that you have the right understanding of the situation, and then you can do whatever you want or whatever is appropriate to change a certain situation for the better.
Guido, could you tell us a little bit more about how, or some takeaways that we can all benefit from?
Yes, I think every one of us has some experience in life where you came from a very difficult situation to a better situation. It can be changing yourself, it can be a problem in the company, it can be helping others to improve something. So what was your takeaway from this? What did you do to make it better? What were the mistakes you did? And how did you finally succeed? I think everybody in life is something which makes his or her personal experience very special. And the next question is there any way how we can use this experience to help others? This is, I think, really worth to compile so that you can use it as a part of the tool in your own coaching sessions.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Hey guys, and you can all really do this. I remember reading about Robert Dilts doing this in the early days, would have been about 76. At the end of the day, Robert Dilts, NLP trainer, he would take 20 to 30 minutes at the end of the day and do a bit of a process. William, if you've ever seen this program written down, I'd like to see it. I've only read about it in a book. At the end of the day, Robert would review the 3 biggest choice points during the day. He would revise 3 points during the day. It could be like the end of a sales call, could be a fight with a girlfriend, 3 like most important moments of the day. And he would go through each of them one at a time. And he would review it in second person. As in, he wouldn't see it through his own eyes. He would dissociate and he would see him at the choice point from a different angle, from a second perception or a third perception, and he would see it. So 3 different scenes or 3 different choice points, each one dissociating out, having a look back, and he would consider 3 other options, 3 other pathways he could have done and walked forward with them. So for example, I was coaching someone on trauma and I did this process. Well, he would go back and he would think, well, what if I did that process? What if I did hypnosis process? What if I did some other process? Or a fight with his girlfriend. He would go back and he would look down 3 different pathways. Okay. Spend about half an hour doing it. But the thing was, each day you've got 24 hours less sleep. So 12, 14 hours. And he would spend this 30-minute window revising that. And he said it led him to really accelerate his development, not just in the skills, but in wisdom.
Boom! You made it here! Good on you. Make sure you click the subscribe button below and check out the playlist at the end. If you'd like to come along to our Sunday sessions where we host a live free Q&A for our students and members, you're welcome. I'll see you there.